You got someone like Benrahma trying things around the edge of the box or in the final third, and then we do lose that ball, he could just as much lose the game as he could win it.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of XG Battle from Sporting Life Infogol. Remember, you can download the Sporting Life and Infogol apps on iOS and Android now to get all the best football analysis, insight and expert betting tips wherever you are. Today, we're joined by Mike from the Unholy Trinity Everton podcast. He'll be representing Everton, and Cal West Ham Analytics on Twitter. As you guessed it, he'll be representing West Ham. And of course, we'll be looking ahead to that game on Sunday between the two sides. Let's dive straight into it then. Everton head into the weekend in fifth, although our performance-based XG table has them sat in the top four, third to be exact. And the Hammers, similar pattern to Everton, they're ninth, but they should be in the European places once again, with our table having them in sixth. Home advantage. So, Mike, first up, based on the season so far, where do you think Everton should be?
I think we are where we are, and we're probably in about the right spot. If you look at the games we've had, the only game really that you could argue we should have got more from would have been the Leeds game, where obviously we dropped a couple of points there in an otherwise decent performance. But I think it's about right. Yeah, I think as Evertonians are all pretty satisfied with the start the team and the new manager has made to the season.
Cal, over to you. Obviously, the same question for you, but from that West Ham perspective. Ninth in the table, should be sixth. Do you think that's pretty fair? Where would you put the Hammers based on the start?
Yeah, I reckon we're probably about where I expected us to be. Maybe a tiny bit lower, just on the basis that I think we obviously probably deserved a tiny bit more against United, only for a Lingard wonder goal that obviously was like a knife through the heart after the end of last season he had with us. And then against Brentford as well, it was just another unfortunate late goal, bit of sloppy goalkeeping that led to the goal from the free kick, well, the rebound from the free kick. So yeah, I think maybe we could have picked up a couple more points, and that would probably would leave us around sixth or seventh, I'd imagine. But yeah, I think generally I'm not too disgruntled, given that we're obviously having our first shot at European football, and there's obviously some tired legs out there, a shorter summer than usual as well for some of our most important players like Rice and Souček and Soufal. So I think, bearing in mind we've got a pretty small squad and it's sort of a big season for us, the biggest we've had, I'm pretty content with whereabouts we are.
This weekend then, Infogol's XG model, it has Everton at 39% to win, the draws at 27%, West Ham are at 34%. So it's expected to be tight. It's a pretty difficult one to call. How are we feeling about the game? Cal, we'll chuck to you first. How are you feeling about the trip to Everton?
Do you know what? I'm always nervous about going to Goodall, to be honest. The last time I went there in person, I think we lost 2-0, and that was when I actually lived in Liverpool. So I then had to walk home after, which was horrible. So yeah, I'm a bit nervous as ever. I think Everton have looked pretty dangerous as well this season. I'm particularly concerned. I think the two areas, obviously Gray and Townsend, I'm a bit worried about. I think they're top 5 for progressive carries have resulted in a shot. So that's something that could potentially come to bite us if our defence isn't properly switched on. And we've seen Rice playing a bit more of an advanced role this season. So I think whereas previously we would have kind of counted on him to break up those sort of runs from Gray and Townsend in that area of the pitch, there's a good chance he'll be caught far up the pitch and then won't be there to stop those kind of movements. And I think in terms of the sort of directness of Everton's attacks as well, we struggled to handle the sort of dynamic two of Tony and Mbeumo against Brentford, and I think Gray and Townsend and Rondon, if they link up effectively, could possibly cause some sort of similar problems for our defence. And I think as well, the only other threat that I'm especially concerned by is this newfound form for Decore. Like he seems to, that player that we saw at Watford has returned.
Mike, same question to you then from an Everton perspective. We'll come to some of those players mentioned there very shortly, the likes of Townsend and Gray, etc. But must be some confidence going into this game, despite West Ham's performances so far. Everton, as you said at the start, have been doing well.
Yeah, I think massive confidence. I think the United game was probably our best performance of the season. I know we obviously won other games, but I think as a collective, bear in mind, Cal's mentioned there about players we've got missing. We've got missing our top goal scorer from last season. We've got missing Richarlison. Iwobi was missing. Andre Gomez was missing. Obviously, we've now we had Seamus Coleman missing as well against United. Nico Dean's got injured on his international duty. So I think that we are still carrying a lot of confidence into this particular game. Out of those players here today, that Coleman, Dean, and Iwobi are all back in full training, so should be fit for the game. Again, Mina playing tonight, which is just a disastrous bit of scheduling that he's actually over in South America playing for Colombia. So he'll be hit and miss. Not sure Calvert-Lewin will make the game. Richarlison outside chance of playing some kind of part, but we're still confident. We've shown what we can do. The core has been exceptional, as mentioned already, and we do carry this threat certainly on the counter attack. And I go in there fully expecting an Everton win with total respect to West Ham and David Moyes and what he's done with the time he's been given. At last, West Ham have given David Moyes the time to try and build that side, and he's done a fantastic job, and it showed that last season. But I still think we are a totally different animals from the Everton side of the last few months of last season, and I fully expect an Everton win.
Well, look at some key players then, because obviously both sides have strikers capable of finding the back of the net. Mikel Antonio, of course, has already been mentioned, but with the absence of Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Rondon's still finding his feet, really, having not been at the club that long. A lot of the attention's been on the wide players, the supporting cast. In particular, side Benrahma, particularly at the start of the season. Andros Townsend, I think you could kind of pick between Townsend and Gray for who's been the better. I think Townsend might just edge it. I'm not too sure on that one. But Cal, we'll start with you. If we look at those two, who do you think's the more likely match winner? Because Benrahma's posting a higher amount of shots. He's going at about 3.1 per game, but they're a lower XG figure, only 0.22 per game. Could you see him having a bigger influence, do we think, than someone like a Townsend or a Gray?
Yeah, I think so. It's a bit of a catch-22 with Benrahma, really, like in the sense that he is a match winner. He's got that ability, and I would expect him to definitely be involved. He's got a lovely right foot on him, obviously. Outside the box, if he's afforded some space, then there's every chance he can curl one into the back of the net. But on the flip side of that coin is for all his positives, he does also lose the ball quite frequently, trying things that maybe aren't necessarily on. And when you're playing against a team like Everton, who have got the pace of Townsend, Gray, and like Mike's already said, they've been pretty dangerous on that sort of direct counter this season. So if you got someone like Benrahma trying things around the edge of the box or in the final third, and then we do lose that ball, he could just as much lose the game as he could win it, which is a bit of a damning criticism. Not necessarily a criticism as it is an observation, but yeah, I think it's probably 50-50 that he could cause problems at either end, rightly or wrongly.
Mike, over onto the Everton side of things, mentioned Townsend, we mentioned Gray. You don't want to get too carried away. We're only, 7 games in, but it's looking like some of the best bit of business the Premier League's seen for a fair bit in terms of value and productivity. Who are you kind of looking at out of the two? We've kind of targeted Townsend. XG per match is around 0.28. Gray's at 0.18. So they're both seen 13 shots, but Townsend's seen a better quality of shot. And he's already got his seasonal wonder goal out of the way with, we think. I think he has to do one a season, so we've already seen that. But for you, Mike, who do you think's the match winner for Everton?
I mean, they've both been absolutely exceptional since they've obviously come in over the course of the summer. And like you say, the kind of business that we've done this summer is unlike what we've done in previous years, where money's been splashed about, and unfortunately, it hasn't led to very, very much. So it's great to see. It's a refreshing change to see two bargain signings come in and make a real impact. I mean, Andros Townsend knows the Premier League like the back of his hand. He's been around numerous teams, done particularly well. We spoke to his dad, actually, Troy, on a podcast last week, and he said, although he knows he's very, very capable, to have this kind of start has been absolutely out of this world, an absolute dream for him. But a player who's really taken to the club and his attitude is absolutely spot on. You know, he's so fit. He plays every game. Defensively, he's good. He covers his fullback, and that's what you want to see. You know, he works hard for the team. I think what I'd say is Demarai Gray, he's with having that pure pace, that acceleration. He absolutely frightens defenders. We've seen it numerous times this season. You know, goals that he scored, how much of a threat he is, and how much he does scare defenders. I mean, either one of them is a match winner, but I think, you know, when legs are getting tired and you've got someone with the pace of Demarai Gray going at you, I think he's probably the one who just about tips it for me. And you know, he's one of those who's probably got a bit to prove in the Premier League, which is probably driving him on even more since he's come in this season. But both the two have been absolutely exceptional, and obviously long may that continue over the course of the season.
So we'll finish off neck on the line time to get a score prediction. It's a West Ham side whose attack has been excellent, pretty much picking off where they left off last season. Only Liverpool and Man City posting a better expected goals for figure through 7 games. West Ham at 1.89 per game. But Everton defence, the third fewest expected goals against, only 1.07. So even though Everton's attack as well has been pretty good, even without Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, they're the 7th best attacking team in the league. It's a good attack against a good defence. Mike, we'll go to you. Score prediction. What do you reckon?
I predicted on our show at the weekend, and I'll stick with it. I'm saying Everton 3-1 win. I think a lot will depend. I'll put an asterisk against that, to be honest with you, because a lot will depend on what players we've actually got fit. But no, I think 3-1. I think, you know, we get Richarlison fit with the pace of Townsend and Gray, Decore absolutely flying. I do think we'll have a little bit too much on the day, to be perfectly honest.
Carl, I can't imagine you're going to agree with that. Score prediction?
Man, my gut is telling me 2-2 draw, but my heart is telling me 2-1 win. So I'm going to go 2-1. I think away from home, our record's pretty good. I think we've not lost away from home in something like nine games now. I think we've won 6. So it's our home form that seems to be the issue. Yeah, let's go 2-1. I think, assuming Yerry Mina's out of the picture, I think Antonio can have a bit of fun with Michael Keane. See how that goes.
So the Sport and Life prediction, powered by the Infogol model, is a 2-1 Everton win. So we're going on the Everton side, no bias involved in that one, but the statistics are pointing to a 2-1 Everton win. And our Premier League score predictors available every Thursday on sportinglife.com, on the app as well, predicting the scoreline of every single Premier League game. Thanks to Mike and Carl for joining us this week for expert insight. Wherever you are, download the Sporting Life app on iOS and Android.